Hey and welcome, and I wanted to cover a console that nobody is talking about, the GameCube. Now, in all seriousness, I know there's so many videos out there on the GameCube, but no one is talking about the PAL exclusives. I know, I've been there, I've been collecting a North American full set, and then I wanted to actually complement it with the PAL exclusives. So I had to put together my own list. I went through a lot of misinformation, trying to work out which ones are actually exclusives. There's some games out there that people have got down as released, but actually they got cancelled. There's promotion material out there and you can actually see the covers, but they didn't get released. And also there's a lot of games that have different titles in different regions. For example, Gadget Racers is called a Road Trip in North America. And Gadget Racers is actually probably one of the most expensive PAL games you can actually get. It goes for a ridiculous amount of money. I don't know, it must have had a limited run, or potentially people think it's exclusive, I don't know. But anyway, I've done all the hard work for you guys. I've put together a list, I've got the games in front of you. I'm going to go through each one, just a little bit of detail so you know which ones are good, which ones are bad, and of course ugly, because there's some pretty damn ugly ones in here. So hopefully someone out there get something out of this. You know, either you're a collector, you're looking for which games to pick up, or potentially you're just looking for a good game, something different that you want to get, or potentially a bad one if that's your sort of thing. So if you've got a North American console like myself, and why even bother with PAL region? I mean, they look a bit strange, they sometimes have some strange languages on them. I mean, even look, they've got the GameCube tab on the right way around. I don't know why it's the bottom in North America. But they had 20 official games that didn't get released in North America, and one unofficial one too. And out of that lot, only 2 made it to Japan even. And that was one that was a official Nintendo first party game. And so there's some good stuff in there. It's well worth your notice. So, but you're probably thinking, but it's regional lot, you know, I don't really want to go there. But the stuff like the freeloader here, this will help you. So even if you don't have a modded GameCube, you can just slot in this disc. It will tell you just to pop open the lid, change the game to the game you want to play. It's pretty simple. But I have to say, not all the games work with the freeloader or the action replay. Unfortunately, there's a couple of games that do struggle. Potentially it's the resolution, I don't know, but certainly they don't work. So I'll let you know which ones struggle when I go through each game. So just to give you a heads up. But if you happen to have a modded Wii, that's probably the better way to go, because there's software on there that allows you to actually play the games. And plus you've got the component cable there as well, so it's probably the better way to go if you have one. If you're lucky enough to have one, definitely use it. So the other thing you potentially notice as well, if you look at the corners, is these little triangles. Now what's that all about? You've probably seen this also on Wii and Wii U and even the Switch games now. Well, actually denotes the actual sub-region. So obviously in Europe, many different languages, so they have to get different manuals in different languages. So what you really need to know is which ones are English, right? And green means UK, so definitely you're going to have English there. This sort of dark purpley colour is like multi-language, but it tends to have English, so you're normally safe. I actually will let you know which ones I have, and because most of these are in English, so I'll let you know as I go with each one, so you know which one to go for. I mean, talking about languages, yes, you know that can be a problem, but all these here are in English bar 2, and they're both in French. Potentially, you know, one is a car game, so you know it's not so bad. You won't struggle with the language there. And another one is potentially you probably don't really want to play it anyway. But mind you, I heard Adam Corlick really likes this game for some reason, so maybe you do want to check it out. So that gives you a bit of a hint of what game that is. So let's have a look at the game, shall we? So let's start with a little bit of Konami. They had a couple of PAL exclusives, and they were both international superstar soccer games. Personally, I've always preferred the ISS games over FIFA games, going back to the Super Nintendo. It's a bit more arcadey, a bit more fun than FIFA. And the series turned into the Pro Evo footy games, which litter bargain bins everywhere for the PS3 and Xbox 360. I'd be lying to you if I said there's much difference between these two games. I mean, it's just the standard updates and tweaks that all these sports games get when they have a sequel. But if you like football games, then definitely you could do a lot worse than these two. But they're no way as much fun as the original SNES versions were. They were absolutely amazing. Of course, both games are fully in English, both on the box and also on the manual. And for the signage wise, we're talking about ISS3 is a dark purpley colour, I guess you could call it aubergine. While for me, I've got an ISS2, which is actually a pink colour. Probably because this is my original when it first came out and I bought it on the continent. Again, normally pink colours are not normally in English, so but this time it is. It's in English and Spanish, of all things. Like I said, it gets confusing to know exactly which colour to go for, but this is why you've got this video, right? I have to also mention that I did say only 2 made it to Japan. Well, ISS2 is pretty much World Soccer 2002, which was released only in Japan. So you could have an argument that actually it's 3 not 2, but as the Japanese version did get unique licensing, let's just say it's a different game and it just got reskinned. Pricing wise, these games are pretty common. I bought ISS3 a couple of years back for a couple of quid at CEX, and ISS2, like I said, is mine from back in the day, but I can't imagine it's much different in price. Very common games. So next up is 2 EA Sports games. Yes, I know, I'm sorry, more sports games, but let's get them out of the way quickly, shall we? F1 Career Challenge, as you can imagine, it's all about realistic simulation driving. It's got all the stats there, all the drivers, and quite a few years in there as well, so it goes back like 4 or 5 years. So there's a lot there if you are an F1 fan. Champions League 2004 to 2005, well, it's a FIFA game, so I think you probably know what that's all about. Again, it's all about the stats. You've got all the clubs there from all the European countries, and it's quite nostalgic to play as Man United and actually win stuff for a change. Spanish wise, they are both UK green labels, and I picked them up for a couple of quid each at CX a few years ago, so they are common games. You should be able to get them easy if you want to. And I have to note as well, both games work perfectly well with the freeloader and the action replay, so there's no worries there. As an award to get through those sports games, it's a first party Nintendo game for you. I was going to say exclusively for the GameCube, but of course it did get released in Japan for the Nintendo 64 DD. I'm sure you've all got one of those. Well, this is a charming god simulator, and it's all about getting the love or hate of your tribe. Get enough of one kind of this love or hate juice and you will grow. You can create as Doshin, or you can smash stuff up as his evil red alter ego Yashin. You don't need to be Mystic Meg to predict what I'm going to say next. It's similar to Populous, but it has that Nintendo charm gene that makes it more appealing. Like the tribe, you're either going to love this or you're going to hate it. But one thing's for certain, if you're a Nintendo fan, you ought to pick this one up. Again, it's got that green spinach, so it's a UK version, so no issues there on the language front, and it works fine with a freeloader or action replay. Price wise, unfortunately this has shot up in price. I'm sure I didn't pay more than $20 a couple of years ago for this. There's plenty of copies around, it sold very well, so I'm not sure how realistic this price is. So I would say, based on its price, check it out first to make sure it's your kind of cup of tea. Okay, you've had your enjoyment. Here's a pile of steaming trash. So, But Ugly Martian Zoom or Doom. Apparently it's based on a thing, some sort of TV show or something, I had no idea. It's rubbish. To be fair, it's not even the worst game on the list, but how do I describe it? It's kind of like if you took Wipeout and had terrible graphics and extracted all the fun out of it and gave it a terrible theme of these aliens. It's just terrible. It's got a aubergine spine, so it is in English unfortunately, so you will understand what they're trying to say in the plot. Probably the best thing about it, it doesn't work with a freeloader, so there's an excuse not to get it. but if you have to play the game, you can use the Wii, of course, and you can even go on the PS2 if you're a big fan. But let's move on, shall we? So next up is Ubisoft, so much better stuff from them. They had 3 exclusive titles to Europe. First up is Taxi 3 the game, nothing to do with the Crazy Taxi series. It's off the movie that was very popular in France at the time. What can I say, it's a little bit similar to Burnout, I guess, but nowhere near as good, unfortunately. It just feels a little bit unfinished and unpolished, so it could have been a good game, but unfortunately it's very, very average to below average, I guess. It's completely in French, it has a pink spine. It's the only way to get the game, it's only in French. So next up is Largo Winch Empire Under Threat. Now this is a puzzle adventure game based on a Belgian comic. The storyline and source material is pretty good, but me personally, I feel it's aged a bit. It's a bit slow paced, some of the dialogue a little bit nonsense, and the graphics are not fantastic. But if you like this kind of game, I'd probably recommend it to give it a go. Also on the PS2, completely in English. It's got a green spine, this one. I think I got it from Australia. Not too expensive, I think maybe £30, something like that. Next up is Jacques Villeneuve's Racing Vision Speed Challenge. Now this is another game that just feels unfinished and unpolished. It's an F1 racing game, a little bit futuristic, a little bit arcadey, but the controls are just not there. So it's very average. I wouldn't really recommend it, but it's not terrible. It's fully in English, so it's a green spine, but I have to say it was difficult to find one in English. There's lots of copies that are in different languages, so it's a struggle to find the green one. And don't worry, all 3 games work fine with the freeloader and the actual replay. So Atari have got 3 games on the list, and one of them actually made it to Japan, and that was V-Rally 3. And it's your sort of traditional rally game, so it's simulation rather than arcade. It's really well done, the graphics are pretty good. It's a lot of fun, but it is hard as nails. But if you like your rally games, I'm sure you want to get this one. Machines also made it to the GameCube in Europe, and it's a fantastic top-down driving game, very similar to Drift Out or RC Racing. It's really good fun, especially the multiplayer. Definitely recommend you try and find this one. It shouldn't be too expensive, it's completely English, so it's got the green spine. And last but not least is Asterix and Obelix XXL. Now this is a fantastic game based on a comic I used to love as a kid. It's a collectathon stroke platformer. It's a lot of fun. I would say it's very similar to Spyro, so maybe a little bit more suitable for kids, but definitely worth a pick up and play. Now it's not the easiest one to find. Mine is actually an orange label one, so I don't think it was released in the UK. I think mainly only on the continent. So mine is actually in French and Dutch on the box, but the game itself is actually in English. They've actually released it on the Switch and also the Xbox and PlayStation 4, so there are other ways to play it, but originally it was released on the GameCube and the PS2 only in Europe. So if you like Wallace and Gromit and you love that kind of animation and that sort of sense of humour, then you'll probably adore Neighbours from Hell. It's a strategy puzzle game where you run around finding items and put them together to form sort of like little traps to inflict pain and mayhem on your neighbours. It's a lot of fun. It kind of reminds me of Spy vs Spy, and a bit of a novelty game, but it is a lot of fun. Again, this is fully in English. You can pick up a green spine one from the UK, but it is one of those desirable games. It's quite popular, but it's still not very expensive. I think it's around the $30 mark. Definitely worth picking up. So next up is TDK. And they must have been nostalgic for the good old LGN days and decided they had to bring some utter shite to the GameCube. And they succeeded, with bells on. I don't know where to start really. Maybe Knights of the Temple, because that's probably the least worst game. It's absolutely hideous, it sounds ridiculous, some of the voice acting is just unbelievable. But the gameplay is alright, it's like a hack and slash. Fairly playable to a certain degree, but don't waste your time on this. It was also released on the PS2, I think. Next up is World Racing, which has actually got the Mercedes license somehow. I have no idea how they let them release this. You would have thought that driving Mercedes-Benz around Area 51 or other exciting locations would be fun, but no, the developers had other plans. They had a challenge, and that challenge was to develop a game more boring than a paint drying simulation game, and they succeeded. After about 2 minutes of extreme boredom of racing, I even tried to have a bit of fun to ram some stuff, but the developers wouldn't even give me that pleasure. And this is not even the worst game. Next up is Conan, and you play this game, the chances are you'll lose something, and you'll lose a piece of you, and you can never get it back, never. It's unplayable, it's frustrating, it's the ugliest game you have ever seen in your life. Look at the footage, just look at the footage. All three of these games are in English and they all play on the freeloader. You can play them if you want to, but please don't take it lightly. Think before you do it. Do you really want to play these games? It's okay, the TDK games, they're gone, it's over. Let's move on. Time for some Nico games. Now, if you laid all these games out and you said 3 games were absolutely terrible, I'd probably say it's these 3. But it's quite the opposite. These are really pleasant games. I mean, these games don't lie to you. They tell you exactly what they are. One is a platform jumper, one is a kart racer, and one is a fun-fair shooting game. It's simple. Kokoto Platform Jumper is a very simple game, but it kind of has a Rainbow Islands vibe about it, which I absolutely love. It's a little bit easy, so it is a kiddies game. So if you haven't got kids, then it's perfect for them. Kokoto Funfair is probably the weaker of the 3 games due to the fact that it's let down by its controller system. So originally I think it was designed for the Wii, so it doesn't really work that well with the GameCube controller. But it is a little bit of fun, especially for kids, and it's kind of got a mighty boost feel to it as well. The last one is Kokoto Kart Racer, and yep, absolutely it's a rip-off of Mario Kart, but who cares? It's a lot of fun. Again, slightly easy, so more for kids, but I'm definitely going to play this with my 4-year-old. It's absolutely fantastic, so much fun. All 3 games are fully in English. They've got the aubergine triangle. The box is also in English in the manual. But these 3 don't work terribly well with the freeloader. Certainly with mine that's connected with component cables, so either try it with normal composites, or you're going to have to use a Wii that's modded. So the more fun the game, the more expensive it is. So the kart racer is about $70 and Funfair is probably only about 20. They don't actually show up that much at a reasonable price. I had to look on the continent for them, so I was looking in places like France and in Holland, and they don't really show up that much in the UK for some reason. I don't know if it's rare or people just holding on to them. So the last official game is Franklin's Birthday Surprise. Now this one is completely in French, but don't worry about that. It's a platformer, so once you get past the menu, you're all good to go. You'll know what to do. It's all about picking some fruit and watering some plants to get past obstacles. Very simple, designed for kids, but it's charming and it's a little bit of fun. It seems to play quite well. It was actually the one that was mentioned by Adam Korlick, saying that he liked this game. But now it's about $60 or $70, so at that price, would I get it? Probably not. But if you can find it on the cheap somehow, then definitely it's worth picking up. As I mentioned before, it's completely in French, so it has that little pink triangle on it. I think it's the only region it came out in. I couldn't find anywhere that it was in English, but unfortunately it doesn't really work with the freeloader, or I couldn't get it to work with the component cables. Maybe it's a resolution thing, I'm not sure, maybe you have to play with it, otherwise try a modded Wii. So that's the 20 official games. That just leaves the one unofficial one, which is Max Play. And like it says in the box, it's 100% unofficial. And it also claims that it is packed with retro-style arcade games. I just wish I could go back in time and be a fly on the wall when those Nintendo suits realised that someone had the nerve to sell something of this calibre on their system, just to see the look of horror as they face 10 of the worst games ever made, probably compiled for some random 80s computer magazine's free code. It would have been priceless. In fact, I'm convinced it's actually a practical joke by Daytel, probably fighting back at Nintendo for trying to stop their freeloader discs from being sold. I'm certainly not going to review all 10 of the games, as I've already wasted enough of my life actually trying them out. I'm sure there's some poor lost soul out there who already has or will do. But the highlight has to be possibly the worst shooter ever made. I mean, I say possibly because it has pink bullets, so maybe there's a standard version which is worse. And I've got to mention Chopper 2. I was so disappointed. I was hoping it's going to be a clone of one of my favourite 8-bit games, Choplifter, but no, it's like a shite version of Flappy Bird. It takes real skill and dedication to make games this bad. Who knows, maybe it was an attempt to get picked up by TDK. And so last, here is the money shot. Here is all the titles in all their glory. Last chance to quickly check what those coloured triangles are, so you know which ones to pick up, to make sure you get them in English. Well, it looks like you made it to the end of the video. Thank you very much for watching. I must say that I put this together myself, the list of games, and I have verified it with the good folks on the UK GameCube collecting page on Facebook, so I think I'm all good. But of course, there's always room for error. If I have missed one for whatever reason, please let me know in the comments, because I generally want to know, because I want to pick it up. So please do let me know if I have missed one. But of course, remember, I'm not really interested in the ones that are at the double packs. I know there's one with like Shark Tale and some other random game I think in Germany. There's a couple double packs, but I've seen them, I'm not really interested to pick those ones up. So only the real proper genuine exclusive titles I'm looking for. So again, thank you very much for watching, and of course a big shout out to the Sarah crew. You guys are awesome as always, and thank you, and see ya. Laters.